More My Hero Academia. I'm so excited. Oh, I'm so excited. We're doing more MHA today. Episode 3 of season 7. It's funny. I'm actually I'm right now doing the thing that I do all the time, which is I'm rewatching My Hero from the start again. I constantly do this. I watch it from start to end, and then I go, okay, I've now, I've rewatched it recently, so I'm not going to do this again for ages. And then, like, time goes by, and I rewatch some other stuff, but then eventually I'm like, man, I feel like rewatching MHA again, and I do it. And so I'm probably in my, like, 10th rewatch of the entire show, I think. And I'm just very excited to jump into this, because now it's like I'll be jumping from season 1 episode 5 to season 7 episode 3 because that's what I'm up to in my rewatch. So it's gonna be, quite the difference. I'm definitely gonna notice the differences from like such a dramatic shift in the show. But anyway, I'm really, really excited to watch this because I mean last week we had Star's farewell, we'll say, which was incredibly sad for you to bring in a character that great for 2 episodes, She was an awesome character. That was a great scene and a great fight for her to go out on. I love that she got to fight to the end and got to do some real damage to Shigaraki, even though she had to die for it. But we're gonna jump into this episode and see where they're going from here, because they did say they're gonna want to like go after Shigaraki sooner rather than later, because he's kind of in a slightly weaker state right now and some of his quirks were destroyed. But I don't know, like, what are we gonna be training now? I don't know. Let's jump into the episode. Make sure to support the video if you can, liking, commenting, and subscribing. And go to my Patreon account if you want the full-length reactions, as well as early access and exclusive videos. And I have a One Piece channel called Gent Watches One Piece. You can go over there and check it out. We're entering the Marineford arc now, which, if you are a fan of One Piece, the Marineford arc is pretty major. So you better jump over there and check out my reactions to that. But anyway, let's jump into this season 7, episode 3 of My Hero Academia. Oh, back to Awful 1, yep. Oh, he's fucked.
In time, you'll be able to use your many powers again.
Oh, jeez.
Kill you. You will suffer. All of you.
The way his chair floats with
As
him.
there's a single person.
What a gift. What great progress.
I don't know if that's a gift, man. So fucked.
The horizon has been. We must wait longer.
You gotta be kidding me. I'm stuck here.
Sometimes decades in advance.
Oh my
Begin by
god.
following the path that best suits
I
my
totally
needs and
believe that he
timeline.
does this as
And if it's
well.
blocked, fortunately return to UA's fortress.
Mm-hmm.
I have many friends.
What? Wait. Toru? What do you mean? Are you saying Toru is your friend?
Go harder!
Don't let her be the traitor, if there is one. Oh my god. They're working together well. God damn.
Come on!
Nice! That was sick. Oh, he's gonna blow up the sweat in the air. Oh, that's sick.
My improved cluster attack comes from me flinging around beads of sweat, then exploding them together.
That's
That upgrade's
awesome.
just the beginning. Sweating a lot more.
Oh, that's why you're wearing your winter suit.
Overheating
makes
eats up my
sense.
stamina though.
Everyone is improving. There's definitely something different
Whoa.
about Todoroki.
Todoroki looks
I'm
awesome.
starting to get the hang of this. This body will withstand Dabi's flames. My fire and ice working in harmony.
Everyone's doing great.
I bet we can take all for one in the league down easy when we find them.
You forgot 3 things, idiot.
What? Wait, 3? Really?
We haven't been able to track down the boss man himself.
Yeah.
He's the damn nutsack face.
He probably has a lot of quirks to hide himself.
Our second problem. We faced an incomplete
Nutsack
Shigaraki
face is
last
funny.
time.
Face each other. All for one stole Ragdoll's search ability.
And he still has it,
Spot works from
apparently.
Basically anywhere.
I was hoping it'd be
Any luck,
destroyed,
New
but it
Order
wasn't.
ate that power up, but we're still at a disadvantage.
Yeah, it didn't, because we saw him use
Now
it.
you get one
Fast. To do that, I need to hurry up.
You do mean we.
Yes. Good job, Ida. I'm not making a joke when I say this. I don't see Toru anywhere.
Of course.
With Uraraka's speech fresh on everyone's minds, the Hero Corps students and evacuees are getting along fairly well.
I knew she would blush at that. Of course.
Fair.
You've been mopey ever since Gunga and Jaku. I mean, we've all felt bad, but you took things extra hard.
Oh.
You know if you don't follow orders, he'll murder the three of us!
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Everything he's asked, the training camp, no one knows that leak came from you.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah,
villains somehow
makes
knew
sense.
we
Okay.
the USJ.
Okay.
It
So
was the same when they
it's
ambushed us
Aoyama.
in the woods, supposed to be a top secret location.
We kind of thought it was Aoyama originally anyway.
We don't want to cause harm.
But
at
now,
this point,
okay,
we're
so
in
Toru
too deep
just
to
knows
stop.
about it.
And you have no choice.
Oh.
Behind our backs, Aoyama was...
We've only ever
If you're
wanted
trying to
what's best for you,
hide,
son. For you to be
don't wear
free
the
to live
gloves
a
and
happy
boots.
life. You did, or less than. You deserved the chance to follow your dreams.
Hmm.
We were trying.
If we'd known
Right.
what was in store for us, I swear it. We never
So
would
they
have let
specifically
someone
got
do
him a
work.
quirk. Wow. That
It's
kind
too
of makes
late.
sense why his body's
We're
less
all
used
for
to
one's
it.
pawns now. We either do
Why he
what
requires
asks
like
of us,
a
or we're
belt for
dead.
it and shit.
Then when All for One was caught at Camino, for a moment I thought, maybe I
Maybe
would
it's
finally
over.
be free.
Yeah.
You suffer because of our mistakes.
I wanted to
This is very sad.
I can't let him kill you.
My god, we've never seen him like
Please,
this.
You know what? Help your parents.
That's Deku. Did he hear it?
She said that the traitor is...
What are
Oh.
you talking about?
Of course it's you. Midoriya,
How are we gonna handle this?
everyone else in our class called out to you, tried to get you
Mm.
to come back to UA. But I stayed silent.
I didn't realize he stayed silent, but that makes sense.
Aoyama.
I just want to be seen as your equal. You were.
Listen!
Yeah.
You were the only one who looked sad. So I came looking for you.
Oh.
I am a revolting villain.
Oh wow, look at that illustration. You're not a revolting villain, you're being used by a revolting villain.
When a cheap lighter stops working, it doesn't affect you. You just throw it away.
That's so
If my
fucked.
friends succeed, I'm happy.
Considering him a
They
cheap lighter.
sigh and say,
They both came from wealth. As children, they wanted for nothing. Knew
That
only
makes sense.
love and happiness.
They seem like
It's
wealthy
possible They were
people.
more worried about me being different than I was. At least, the quirk I received wasn't a good fit for my body. though.
Yep,
It hurt.
it makes sense.
And give back to the world.
if Izuku
So
Midoriya
fucked. Although,
returns to UA,
the one time he
let
like,
him alone and out into the open.
jeez, the one time he
When I read your
stood
letter
up to them and
found
shot
out that you were
in the
born
training
quirkless,
camp
That we were the same.
was extra defiant then.
I stand it.
Aoyama!
I was
Please don't
filled
do
with
this!
despair. Naval
Oh!
laser.
Oh, nice, Hagakure! She refracted it. Makes
My
sense.
body refracts light. Aoyama, we all could
Gosh.
have died. The entire country's falling apart around us. And you said
Oh,
in class
we're
that you
seeing
weren't
her.
involved. How could you dormice us? How could you look any of us in the eye? Blame yourself, Aoyama!
You don't get
Oh my god. Yes, good job, Deku.
Help fighting. Please. We'll work this out.
Oh, Deku.
Since that point, he and his family have been forced to act as pawns against the
Damn. Are we actually like fully
Physically,
arresting
he
them?
Seems fine.
There's a traitor at this school. I never thought it would be a student.
Yeah, he was only considering the
I'm
faculty.
sorry.
2 Hero Corps students born quirkless. Who'd have thought?
That's true.
We're still trying.
We did whatever we were told. If we didn't, he would kill us. If we lied to him, he would kill us.
I'm not a big fan of Aoyama's parents.
He threatened you?
It wasn't just a threat.
They seem a little
He showed us
selfish.
what happened
But I guess they're
because he
rich
didn't
people.
follow his wishes. Avoid suspicion. We're to blame, not Yuga.
How
Yeah.
could you sleep at night in the same dorm as us?
I smiled and laughed like we were friends. Because I wanted us to be.
Oh, Mina's crying.
When I truth, It's that I am a villain through and through.
I don't believe you! Why did you try to save Kachan and
That's what I was saying!
training camp, huh?
This is the moment I was talking about. That was a much braver moment than we realized.
Something All for One told you to do too?
And you won't be able to twinkle, mon ami.
Of course not!
Justin Bright is so good.
But it's obviously not because you failed to do what All for One wanted.
Yeah.
I know what the problem was. He'd crushed her spirit.
Young Midori.
So I want you to take my hand. Right now.
I see what you're doing.
But it doesn't erase the fact that he helped All for One.
It's true.
Besides, because he hasn't exploded. We can't say for
That's
sure that what
also
happened to
true.
Nagant won't happen to him.
Oh.
We shouldn't let him speak another word until we can get him checked out and cleared at Central.
That's so sad.
But think. The board has changed.
But we're still at a disadvantage.
We now have a way of forcing them to fight on our terms?
Yeah?
He's right.
Through Aoyama?
That was the only person in the world with the power to trick All for One.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you. You too can be a hero.
He's using the words of All Might. There's no way that was 25 minutes! Where'd the time go? That was a great 5-minute episode. How? This is the thing. When I love a show so much like this, it's not fair. Like, there are some shows that I like, but like I sort of just like them and I enjoy them. But they'll like sometimes when I'm doing them, I'll like, or when I'm watching them, it'll feel like pretty long, you know? And I'll be like, geez, there's so much stuff in this episode. Oh, it keeps going. Wow, there's more. Wow, this is crazy. But with MHA, it feels like there's no time. It just speeds through. This episode was I was genuinely shocked when it ended, because that felt so fast. Yeah, great episode. I really liked it. So Aoyama being the traitor, he was the main person that I had assumed was a traitor. I thought it was gonna be a major twist if it was Toru, but it wasn't Toru. But Aoyama being the traitor, that makes a lot of sense, because we sort of had just the fact that he was sort of like a character that was sort of like on the outside and was a little bit different from everyone, that on its own. I actually didn't think about the fact that like his quirk doesn't really match with his body super well, therefore it was a gift from All for One. I didn't actually make that connection. I'll admit that much, that's a cool little connection that was there from day one. It's cool because this is a sort of like twist that works nicely, because like even though it doesn't massively shock me, I don't think twists necessarily need to massively shock me. But it's nice that, all of these pieces were in place from the start. Very much like Toya, Darby being Toya, that sort of stuff was in there from the start as well. So it's nice that he's, able to set those up. Horikoshi can set those up early and then just pay them off whenever the hell he wants to. That's all really nice. But yeah, like him being the traitor is something that makes a lot of sense. And there was like the episode with the cheese, like him leaving the cheese for Deku and stuff. They did do the whole like, oh, they pretend he's the traitor, but then he's not really the traitor. But I don't think I was ever really like fully convinced that he wasn't, because not many other people really made sense to me in my mind. And then, as they pointed out in this episode, there's times when he sort of just like didn't do anything and didn't speak up for people when there was villains around. So yeah, it does make a lot of sense. It's very consistent with his character. I loved Toru in this episode. She had such a small part, but I love her, and I loved like seeing her basically like tell Aoyama like, how can you live with yourself doing this? Which is like a really harsh thing to say, but probably, she's working on her emotions, and it's important. And also, I genuinely have thought about the fact that she's a good counter to Aoyama, since he uses light-based stuff and she refracts light. I've thought about that before, and I'm glad that actually, like, she was the counter to him, both personality-wise and power-wise, where she can just refract his light off of her. But I love, in her refracting the light off of her, it shows what she really looks like, which I talked about in the... I believe I talked about in the OP reaction that I know what Toru looks like, because when they revealed what Toru looks like in the manga, no manga readers could shut up about it. Now, it was ridiculous. Like, the amount of fucking fan art and screenshots and all that went online was insane. Was absolutely insane. Like, there was no way for me to avoid it, because I didn't realize it was Toru at first. I just saw a like crazy character design. I didn't realize I was looking at MHA stuff. I just see like a fun little fan art of a character. I'm like, oh, what's this? And then it's captioned like Toru Hagakure. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm not supposed to know that. So like, that's something that I had spoiled for me. But I really like the way they use it in this episode. I mean, they didn't show her fully here, which makes me think maybe we will see her in more detail later, but maybe not. I don't know. But I like, you know, it's the refracting of the light, like we see the outline of her body and it's shining off of her and stuff. But the reason they're doing that is it's not just like a, oh look, here's what Toru looks like moment. It's the time we're seeing what Toru looks like is when she's like devastated and we get to see the emotion on her face. Like, they're using it as a technique to show how she feels, which I really love. That's so great for an invincible character. For like, to the time that you show her is when we're watching her bawling is amazing. And Felicia Angel did such a great job on that. I'm so glad that this is the first time I think that I've wanted to praise her, Felicia Angel, and I've remembered her name off the top of my head. I've been trying to make sure I know her name because she's in a lot that I love. I have really, like, I've always liked her. When watching anime, I've always like kind of noticed her voice and been like, oh, she sounds great, you know? But then over the past, I would say year, I have noticed and loved her voice so much. Like, I've looked up like, oh, who's that? Oh, it's Felicia Angel. Like 15, 20 times in different circumstances over the past year, I feel like. And I really love her. And so now I've got it like in my head. It's like that it's her, you know? And I'm keeping that in my head. I'm trying to make sure I remember her name because I really like her. My favorite of her characters is Kohaku and Dr. Stone. I love Dr. Stone and her Kohaku. There's like nothing else like it. Like, there's no one who fits that character's voice better for me than, like, they cast her perfectly. But she plays Toru Hagakure in this show, if you don't know. And she did a great job with that little speech. I think I also just like her, like, from what I've seen of her. I'm pretty sure I saw there was a video of her, like, playing D&D or, like, another TTRPG on a YouTube channel at some point, and I was, like, skimming through it. I didn't, like, watch the full thing, but I was skimming through it, and when I was skimming through it, I was like, damn, she plays TTRPGs, she plays a lot of anime characters that I love. I feel like I'd get along great with her. I want to hang out with her, because I play D&D several times a week, and obviously I talk about anime extensively on this channel. So I'd want to hang out with Felicia Angel, and I remember her name now. So, hey, that's a good enough reason to hang out with me. I will remember your name. But yeah, she did an excellent job in this episode. So did Justin Briner, man. I mean, Aoyama's voice actor was good as well. This was sort of his moment, and he did a great job. But I mean, it's hard. I think it's hard to do that sort of like Aoyama accent through devastation and tears. And I mean, also Aoyama is probably playing it up a little himself. So yeah, there's that was like probably really hard for that voice actor, but did a great job. But man, Justin Briner, I mean, there's a huge reason that like I watch this in dub and not sub. I mean, like, there's the casting of this show is in dub is perfect, absolutely perfect, and Justin Briner leads it so incredibly well. Like, Justin Briner and Deku's voice, it is it's phenomenal. And like moments like this, there's nothing else hits harder than his voice doing these speeches, I think, for me. Like, he just does it so incredibly well. And this episode where he's like just trying to snap Aoyama out of it, he sells it so well. I believe him so much, you know? Like, I would say Deku, and Justin Briner's performance of Deku is one of my favorite like male performances. And the reason I'm specifying male performances is because I'm incredibly biased and like I simp a lot when it comes to women, and so I will always like mention women in these shows and their performances and those characters and stuff, and I'll often neglect the male characters because I get more attached to the female characters, you know? But like, you know, despite that bias, like Justin Briner and Deku break through it, and he does such an incredible job that it's one of my favorite male performances of all time, I think. And it's sort of like in my head sometimes sort of goes under the radar because in my mind it's the gold standard for me for doing like a protagonist type voice in an anime dub, that I don't even think about it because it's just like, you know, like I don't think about how you can improve the Mona Lisa. So like when I'm looking at a painting, it's like I'm comparing it to the Mona Lisa. So when I'm looking at other anime protagonist voices and stuff, I'm always comparing it to Justin Briner in my head. That's how gold standard it is for me. So yeah, it's incredible. He does such a great job. I do like the idea that Aoyama now can trick All For One. I mean, All For One, this whole entire episode is bragging about the fact that he has so many lines of ways that he can do shit. So I think the point of them showing that throughout the episode, it's not just to say, oh, look how perfect All For One's plans are. What it is, I believe, is showing if we just abandon Aoyama, sort of in the same way that All For One would. If we just go like, well, he was working for All For One, push him to the side because he's dangerous. If we do that, that's sort of what All For One wants, because he just wants to discard of those loose ends, right? He just wants to throw them away as soon as he's done with them. But if instead we use him and we like actually forgive Aoyama for what he's done and like use that against All For One, then we can actually get somewhere. Because All For One, he waits until, you know, the cheap lighter stops working and then he throws it away. But what if the cheap lighter doesn't stop working? He's just gonna keep using it without thinking. I hope, like, that's our plan, right? Is he hasn't really fully accounted for the fact that, you know, he thinks he can just use fear to control people, and when he can't use fear to control people, other people will already abandon them, because he assumes other people are as ruthless as him. He doesn't think people would forgive someone for something like that, maybe. But if we actually do forgive Aoyama and properly do this, then maybe we can trick him. I don't know. It depends on if this plan works or not, but I think it's a good shot. Aoyama's parents, I said in this episode, I felt they were a little selfish. It's kind of unfair for me to say that. It's a difficult thing because they didn't really know what they were getting into when they got into it originally. I mean, it is a tiny bit selfish when you look at it from like, okay, Aoyama had no quirk, and they wanted him to have a quirk, and he wanted to have a quirk, so they sort of they hunted down someone who was clearly shady. And I mean, I wonder how much was known about All For One. I assume you know that he can steal quirks as well as give quirks, right? I assume they know that, which means they are basically buying from the black market. They are essentially taking a quirk that they know was stolen from someone. So if they go into it knowing that, then it is very selfish. If they go into it thinking somehow he creates quirks and it's not that big a deal, it's maybe they just think, oh, the only reason it's like underground is because is because we don't want people just giving away quirks to anyone. So like this guy, you know, whatever, I don't know. Like maybe they think that it's illegal for a different reason, and then it's like more acceptable, but they're just idiots. But I think they know where it came from. So that is pretty bad. And it's, I mean, look, it's a mistake. I can't blame them so much for a mistake they made, you know, 10, 15 years ago. But, well, yeah, it would have been like, yeah, 11 years ago or something, probably. But I think the really horrible thing is, like, because of that, aoyama is constantly under All For One's thumb, and they were devastated about that for sure. But I feel like, I don't know how, but I feel like they aren't looking for a way out for aoyama, right? They were trying to justify it to him constantly of like, you just have to keep doing this for a bit longer, or like, hey, once this happens, it'll be fine and you'll be out of it and whatever. And I feel like, you know, they're the sort of people who they'll do anything to get what they want, it sounds like they're sort of like rich people, so they probably think everything has a price or whatever. But I think they were sort of settling for the All For One thing because it seemed like easy enough. But when Deku comes in and like finds out, instead of like pleading Deku for help, they're still trying to hide Aoyama's involvement in it, and like get him away from Deku and like use him against them. Now I know they're doing that out of fear, but I think it's like when Deku shows up, I feel like you should use that as an opportunity. Like that's the time to sort of repent and see and like work with the heroes when they find out about it. But I don't know, man. It's a tough situation. I don't want to say that they're not horrible people. They just made a mistake, and they're like sort of in too deep at this point. So maybe I'm being a bit unfair to them. But it sucks when you see someone like aoyama being used like that so heavily, and there's sort of not much you can do about it. And yeah, anyway. Great episode though. I really enjoyed it. I feel like I had something else to talk about, but I didn't note it down. I did note down that there was the IQ quirk. I believe it was called IQ, which is one of the Pussycats quirks. That's still around because they used it at the start of the episode, which is sad because that's such a useful quirk, and I thought the New Order was their way of getting rid of that quirk because it was too powerful. Like I thought Horikoshi was like, okay, that quirk, like I gave it to them, but that's too strong, so let's get rid of that. But no, it isn't. He wants to keep that quirk around. That quirk, and I mean, I guess it makes sense to keep it around because it's such a strong quirk, and you want like the sort of effects of the previous arcs to be felt, and like one of the effects is like that her quirk is still that her quirk was stolen and it was a really powerful quirk, so you want that to still be felt. So I guess it makes sense that you keep it around, but I was still hoping that it would be destroyed, but it wasn't. Especially since, like, I don't know how exactly it works when the quirk factors were fighting each other, but in my mind it was like the strength of the quirk would be you know, how strong it was at fighting, what's her name? Star's quirk, right? And so I thought maybe the weaker ones, and by weak I mean combat ability, the ones that don't help as much in combat would die quicker and earlier. So I thought it was possible, like, you know, that quirk would have died, but like one of the more strengthening or regeneration quirks and stuff like that, they would stick around because they can be strong and regenerate. But it probably doesn't work like that. So anyway, that's it. That's BnHA Season 7, Episode 3. Thank you for joining me. Make sure to support this video if you can, liking, commenting, and subscribing, and go to my Patreon account if you want the full-length reaction, as well as early access and exclusive videos for both this channel and my Gen Watch's One Piece channel. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.